Well, hello. Welcome to Love Wrestling Reacts. I know we weren't here last week, but welcome back. I've got Al.
Yep,
We
that way. We'll get this. We'll get this one day.
How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing a-okay. How about yourself, Ed?
I'm doing pretty well. It's been an interesting week in wrestling, so we're going to talk about some stuff. We also have this week's big star. We got down here in the corner. We got Astrid, the Natural Pizarro, over here. Astrid, how you doing today?
I'm exhausted, but I'm glad to be here, though.
I mean, you've had a busy week. You had NXT. You had the J&J Power Hour. You had a guest spot on the Between Two Beards show, so that's always nice. And then we found this guy just sort of roaming around the Love Wrestling studios and decided to bring him on. Well, I think he knows a little bit about wrestling. We got Chris Parrish. How you doing?
Yeah, I was sleeping on in Spencer's little waiting room there, and he told me to put on a shirt and do some work. So here I am.
All right. Well, it's always good to see you. How was Change the Since none of us have seen the show, how was Change the Game last week?
Oh, yeah, you guys should check it out when you can. No, it was an absolute amazing show, bell to bell. So once the footage will be leaked out or put out, whatever you want, like definitely check it out. It was a great show with a lot of great matches. MRB and Randy Myers absolutely put on a clinic there. The Pinnacle Battle Royal was a lot of fun. But even like a match between Leo London and Mitch Clark, a submission match was really good as well. And then you obviously have Artemis Spencer against Michael Allen, Richard Clark, who two of some of the best performers in the Western Canada scene. So definitely want to check it out when you get the opportunity to. And I think it'll be pretty soon when that show comes out.
Well, that'll be fun. I know we're all looking forward to seeing it. There was a group of us in the Love Wrestling Slack chat all making up things that happened. I was talking about how you broke into a Shakespeare soliloquy in the middle of the Battle Royal. I thought it was a little unusual for you, but you do you.
There is a particular clip of Canadian Goose Hong Kong getting a drop kick to the face that I kind of like.
It was a very nice little clip that we saw in the Slack chat. But that being said,
I may have laughed at him when that happened during the match. I was laughing at a lot of people getting beat up. It was just fun.
That being said, we're going to talk about this week in wrestling, and since that was last week, we're going to move on from that a little bit. But first things first, we have to thank our sponsors at RK Athletics. Rich King, who was also in that Battle Royal and was on Change the Game. So, when it comes out, make sure you look out for Rich King. But Rich King does a lot of great stuff for us. He helps put on shows like this. He gives Between Two Beards a budget that they can blow. It's fantastic. But RK Athletics 1 on Twitter, on Instagram, all kinds of good stuff from them. Give him a follow. Keep an eye on him when he's in the Western Canada wrestling scene. I know he's got a whole bunch of stuff going on there that he talks about on his Twitter. So go ahead and follow them at RK Athletics 1. They make it possible for us to put on the shows that we do. That being said, if you want to support us a little bit more directly, you can go ahead and buy something at lovewrestling.ca/shop. We got all kinds of things. We got stickers. We got fanny packs. We got mugs. We got T-shirts. I think we had face masks at one point. I think we still do.
I believe we have wine glasses now.
Yeah,
we do have wine glasses. I saw those. Those look interesting.
They come in both black and white.
But Parrish, do we have the Love Wrestling Elite Championship on that? Can we buy that?
No, you can't. There's only one.
Do you have it?
But you want to hear a funny story from Chain of the Game, though?
Of course.
Apparently, with the Love Wrestling gear that I donned, there is interest in fans now wanting to buy copies and pairs of said gear, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
Well, Spencer's, I'm sure, getting on it, looking at the numbers, running the cost-benefit analysis.
We're going to have Love Wrestling pajamas before the end of the week. There you go.
If we can get Love Wrestling onesies, that'd be terrific.
Yep.
I was just saying, I might actually buy that and wear it on the air. That'd be great.
If I can get a onesie of just the gear that I'd wear, I wouldn't even put on any gear. I would just wear a onesie all the time.
Go right to the shoot in that stuff.
Oh, great. But anyways, moving on. We're going to talk about some things. I know we got Halloween Havoc coming up. We've got Bound for Glory coming up. We are going to talk a little bit about the TBS tournament. But we're going to start with a quick recap of Crown Jewel. Now, I know all of us didn't watch the show, but we've all seen SmackDown, or at least portions of SmackDown. We've all been on social media and seen some things. Does anything top Matt Riddle riding a camel? Like, let's be honest here.
I think one thing probably tops it if you're really, really happy with the way Crown Jewel panned out in terms of results, and that would be Xavier Woods winning the King of the Ring.
This is true. I did forget about that.
Ouch.
So King Xavier, all hail King Xavier. I'm very happy that they went that way. I would have been fine either way, I'll be honest. If Finn Balor had won and Woods had gotten to the finals and lost, I still would have been okay. I know social media would have taken a big dump, but
I still wish that they would get out of this let's play King of the Ring or the Queen's Crown tournament in like 3 weeks thing. Let's just devote one night to this tournament and go old school again. It's just after 3 weeks, it just seems like none other matches. They don't really, to me, feel special anymore. Like it's just it's a little annoying that WWE with all their stuff and like all their network stuff, they can't just produce.
Well, I mean, when you have a tournament that's less than 20 minutes in total, it's not going to feel special.
True. I mean, here's the thing, and this was brought up by somebody who I moderate for on Twitch, Tom Collihue, and I'm going to steal his opinion. My theory is that in Saudi Arabia, they were told you're going to get X time for women's matches. Saudi was assuming they would have one women's match, and they would just give them a time for the match, and that would be that. WWE said, "Hey, I have an idea. What if we did something different and we took a little bit of that time and put something else there so we had 2 matches? Good, bad, or indifferent." They're trying to continue to make it more normal that women are wrestling on these shows, that they're wrestling longer matches. And in their defense, nobody got hit with a bottle this time, which is different than the first time they had women there. And to think, we've come a long way from the first Crown Jewel show where Carmella was part of a video package and got booed by the entire live crowd because she was in a video package, and WWE had to apologize because they had one woman in a video package, to the point where they had Natalya versus Lacey Evans at the next Crown Jewel, where one of them got hit with a bottle.
Yeah, Natalya, I believe it was.
I think it was, well, of course it's a member of the Hart family in Natalya, but I mean, they're used to getting jumped when things happen, Bret Hart's Hall of Fame ceremony, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, come on.
That clip is still broadcasted everywhere. We got Don Lewis, Bubba Duke from the Turnbuckle Talk Show. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you here. But they've come a long way. They now had, one match last year. They've had a couple matches. Now they had 2, and they had a great triple threat that was pretty all right. I actually enjoyed it. It feels like it's more of a natural thing to think that, women are on these shows. Now, is it a big step? Is it worth taking all the blood money and all the different things that come from working these Saudi shows? No, probably not. But they're trying to make a change. They're trying to do something positive in this area of the world. That has to be and continue to be touted, that they're at least trying to do something.
It's one of those things, though, and I don't know, I'll let Asher kind of take this on because it was pretty iconic of a moment to see a couple of women matches in Saudi Arabia. But I just feel like they're not presented the normal way. And it's just one of those things where we already struggle to get the women in WWE to be presented in a right way on regular broadcasting, that it would be nice if you were going to do something like that. Like if Zelina Vega, congratulations to her, by the way, for winning the first ever Queen's Crown. But the fact that she's restricted to do certain things while celebrating that historic event just showed me that pay-per-view, that show was just the wrong time to have that coordination. And that's my kind of gripe and takeaway from it.
Yeah, and it's just seeing from the participants, how do you have Shayna in there, knowing obviously she's going to lose from the beginning because she can't go? How do you have Sammy in there too, knowing he can't go either? So it's just it's one of those things.
I have one for Sammy, and I'm going to let you finish. I'm not going to steal your time. I'm going to let you finish, but I don't know. I'm going to let you finish, but I want to come back to the Sami Zayn point because I think that there was something good about that one.
Oh yeah, I know it's different when it comes to him, but just thinking about it, like, why would you do the finals in there? I would have done the finals there. I would have waited, either make it a part of a pay-per-view or make it special on a SmackDown maybe or a Raw, just to have people watching, because I'm like, they want people to tune into the show, so might as well give us a women's match. I don't think we had any last night. All we had was the swapping as the main event.
Which definitely had its moments, and we'll talk about that when we get to it.
I don't think that word or that phrase needs to be ever used again in terms of talking about women wrestling in the presentation.
But going back to the Sami Zayn thing, there was an interesting angle that they could have played with the Sami Zayn storyline if Sami had beaten Finn. Sami Zayn has been going on that is a conspiracy against Sami Zayn. You could have had Sami Zayn win against Finn Balor and then gone on a rant saying that it was a conspiracy against him, that this match was taking place in Saudi Arabia. Let him use his Sami Fasiria like platform to say that he doesn't enjoy, being in that part of the world. He doesn't have to bring up the political stuff. You don't have to bring up. You can do it in a way that makes sense, to where Sami says, I'm not going to Crown Jewel. I don't want to fly that far, whatever it might be. And you can come up with an amazing, amazing storyline around the conspiracy, so that when it comes back down to it, you have a way to placate Sami Zayn and being like, oh, no. And then you still could have had Sami versus Woods last night on SmackDown, where you have Woods defeat Sami Zayn anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm just wondering if, like, guys like Sami Zayn, when they're doing these side projects and doing these things outside of WWE, if they're even hesitant to allow WWE involvement to begin with. And I don't know, like, I don't know the details. I don't know if there's any specific reasons, but I do know that they're side projects for a reason. And I know some people would like to just keep things on the DL when it comes to involvement, WWE. My thing is just, I don't have an issue with WWE wanting to do shows in Saudi Arabia. I do have an issue with the way some of these shows are being perceived, in the sense of how they're coming to be. But with what you're saying, Ed, like, they're trying to make a positive out of a situation here, and you can't fault them for wanting to do that. My thing is, they're taking the natural aspect of what fans love with these King of the Rings, the Queen Crowns, and they're kind of taking it away from the people who truly love them. Like, why should your hardcore wrestling based audiences, whether it's like Chicago's, Philadelphia's, New York's, or things like that, why can't you put a King of the Ring or Queen's Crown in those markets and get more of a bang? Like, it just seems like they cater too much to the Saudi shows, and they don't really give back to the fans that are more loyal to them. And they always seem to make the Saudi show like a WrestleMania, but it's always one of those things where it's like, if you're going to do that, go to somewhere like the UK, where you have a loyal fan base as well, that you kind of seem to almost slap in the face by just doing the same hokey BS when you go there all the time.
Yeah, and I completely agree. That being said, this, like Parrish said, it was a WrestleMania type card. It was a relatively good show. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it while I was working. There are problems with these shows aside, but a good wrestling show is a good wrestling show, and this was a good wrestling show.
How good was Edge and Rollins, by the way?
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The storytelling by those two. And it comes out where Rollins still feels like a big deal, even with the loss. Rollins still feels like a big deal, and you can still put him up against Big E, and it doesn't feel forced, like, oh, they're just pushing Rollins because Rollins is Rollins. No, the dude went through hell against Edge, and yeah, he lost, but it makes sense that he could still be a world champion. Moving on, we'll get on to the next point, unless anybody else wants to talk anything else about Crown Jewel. And again, I want to, how cool was it Matt Riddle riding a camel? I'm going to say. Like, Matt Riddle riding a camel, Hangman Page on a horse. Sorry, camel wins.
Now, if the camel rode this little skateboard that Riddle came on, I would have thought that would have been the funniest thing I've ever seen.
My thing was, as much pyro as there was, those camels were like legit, like, we're good, we're cool. You know, we heard the horror stories about the horses and the dogs in AEW with pyro. These camels, they don't care. They're just like, cool, all right. They were standing by the stage, all that pyro.
They know they're getting
flinch.
paid by the hour, so they're fine.
They're good.
I mean, I'm sure we can make jokes about why they're comfortable around big, loud bang noises, but like you said, we should move on to the next time.
I wasn't gonna go there. I was just gonna say that they.
I didn't go like where we're
like horses. They're professionals.
I'm just asking where you would like to go.
So I'd like to go to SmackDown because I think SmackDown was the next thing we saw after Crown Jewel. SmackDown was an interesting show. It didn't feature a ton of wrestling this week, which honestly shouldn't surprise a lot of people, considering these people were just on a 21-hour flight. Most of the people that were featured on that show last night were in Saudi Arabia. I mean, your opening segment was Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Which, by the way, I know people are giving them crap for having 30-plus minutes with, 40 minutes with commercials before you get to the bell ringing for Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. But that was a really good quality 30 minutes between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns is continuing to cut great promos. This Paul Heyman character where Paul's uncomfortable because that wasn't the way things were supposed to go in Saudi is absolutely great because Roman knows that Paul knows that Roman knows that he screwed up. And it's just telling this fantastic story. And then the suspension of Brock Lesnar for, throwing the camera against the ring post, throwing the referee around, and then eventually 2 F5s to Adam Pearce. By the way, great sell job on those F5s, Adam. Good job. But, I mean, that was a quality 30 minutes of programming. I'm
going to let you guys talk about this, but I just want to say one thing. I still cannot believe that now, after how many times WWE has gone out and said they look at entertainment as a priority over pro wrestling, how many people are still shocked that there's more entertainment than there is pro wrestling on a network show. And how much people are surprised that there are commercials to help pay in a network show. It just blows my mind how many people are too simple-minded to not see this business end of the deal. With that being said, I legit love this storyline between Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. They could have a full 2 hours, and I'm going to still be intrigued because they're that good at telling a story. And I'm very much looking forward to what happens next.
Astrid, Alex, somebody?
Go, Alex. I already went. So.
I mean, to be fair, I don't get to watch much of network WWE content because I don't get network WWE content. Okay. So, but from everything I've been seeing, and I completely agree. Like WWE is entertainment side of what we would call professional wrestling. They are going to be having these segments. They're going to be having these weird, backstage promos. And I think the problem is that they still see themselves as being able to compete with like an AEW, but they shouldn't be. They shouldn't even be worried about it. They should be more focused on doing their thing and letting AEW doing their thing. When you, like I said before, when you just sit back and realize that WWE is just pure entertainment quality content, quality in quotations, and AEW is professional wrestling, then things can be a little bit smoother for you. But that's just me. I kind of draw that line in the sand and I say, okay, these aren't both professional wrestling. One is more so than the other. One is a little bit, but it's more entertainment side.
Astrid?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't mind the segment being as long as it did. I didn't even realize that so long had happened before wrestling part of it, the show happened. And so I saw the tweets about it, and I'm like, wow, it's been like, 40 minutes, I think, or more between commercials and everything before we get the first wrestling part of the show. So I thought that was interesting. But it's one of those things that for me, Brock and Roman, it's just like they can go on, and I won't mind it. it's one of those people that I don't mind it. As long as it's entertaining, I don't mind the 30 minutes or the 40 minutes. If it's crappy, then it's going to be like, we could maybe cut this part a little bit off because that was too much. But I'm fine with them at least having that amount of time they need.
Yeah. And going back to the discussion about pro wrestling and entertainment, I mean, let's bring up let's put the cat out of the bag. There are definitely sides, to the fan bases between AEW and WWE. Last Friday night, AEW decided WWE decided they were going to do a supersized SmackDown and win an extra 30 minutes into the beginning of Rampage. So Rampage decided to do an hour-long pre-show where they were going to give us, among other things, they gave us Suzuki versus Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, however you want to term. I'm still a WWE fan. I'm still getting used to changing the names around. So you have all these wonderful things. So SmackDown counters by saying we're going to go commercial-free for the last 30 minutes. So AEW says, fine, we'll go commercial-free for our first 30 minutes. I mean, it's big boys playing around being big boys. That's fine. Great. WWE on a network that they're not normally on, that's seen by a whole bunch of less houses, had almost 900,000 people watching their show. That's a pretty damn good number, to be perfectly honest with you, on a network that gets 90 million homes. Like, it's a quality number. Rampage puts a whole lot of publicity into they're going to be live, they're going to be having a great show. And for the first 15 minutes, they did great. And then they didn't because CM Punk went off the air. It's interesting to see that when Rampage and Dynamite do gangbuster numbers, everybody's talking about how wonderful they did, how their competition. But at the same time, it's interesting to see the counterplay when we're talking about what happens when WWE leaves network television, goes to cable, and still has more viewers.
Well, I think we got to look at it. We can look at it as a direct competition. I think that's kind of the mistake people are already making because there isn't a direct competition. That's something that people are manufacturing because they're just so sick and tired of WWE that they want to see something else, which is completely fine.
Which is good. It's great for the business.
Exactly. Pro wrestling was never hotter than when WCW and Monday Night Raw were banging heads every Monday night. That was when pro wrestling was the hottest it's ever been. I think like 12 million people at one point were watching pro wrestling across the world. Now that we have this whole new thing called the internet just absolutely blowing everything out of the water and everyone gets more instant gratification, they get more instant knowledge, they get more instant this. I think the overstepping fact that people are forgetting the fact that there is still more pro wrestling on a mainstream level to watch and you get to now choose whatever you want. Can you just do that with the whole hoping and honesty of that if you like it, support it, but stop bashing one at the expense of one? It's like you're only liking one just so you can take a shot at the other, and that's not really liking pro wrestling. That's just really being a salty individual, and you need a lot more sweetness in your life if that's the case. Please just stop the banter of like only AEW can do well and WWE. No, like who cares? Like I'm not gonna watch The Simpsons hoping that Peter Griffin's gonna come on and I'm gonna get the I'm not gonna get that on there. I'm gonna watch Family Guy for that. Like please, it's apples and oranges. It's the Carlitos and the Cassidys. Come on.
Well, I mean, what it is just it's wrestling,
Yeah.
Once you just love wrestling, then that's it. Just
you can. And if you love wrestling, I got a YouTube channel for you.
Yeah,
taking a page out of Spencer's playbook from yesterday.
That's kind of where I fall. It's like I have an umbrella, and anything that's considered wrestling falls under that umbrella. I love watching, New Japan. I love watching Impact, TNA, WWE, WWF, AEW. Just give it to me. I'm that kind of person.
Yeah,
Yes.
like to me, I'm a fan of both. So I criticize both equally. So like, if I don't get a women's match on SmackDown, I'll say something about it. If I don't get one AEW, I'll say something about it too. Like I don't care, but I'm like I'm not gonna be one of those people be like, oh AEW is doing it better or WWE is doing it better. I'm like I just like that I get entertainment from both sides, so I'm gonna enjoy both of them. Like who cares?
If it's good, it's good. If it's crap, well, I'll tell you.
Mhm.
It's fine to like James Bond and Jason Bourne movies, people.
No,
It's
no.
fine.
Who
wait
would
a second.
Who would like James Bond?
Oh, dude, I can't wait to see that one.
All right.
No spoilers.
Anyways, with more on SmackDown.
They should call it No Time to Perish, but that's just me.
Kick this guy out. Kick this guy out of here right now.
Anyways, moving on. Continuing on the SmackDown. Apparently, there was a little bit of backstage fun after the championship exchange apparently did not go according to plan by a bunch of people. I know, right? Imagine. I love the fact that the wrestlers in the ring hated the idea of this segment as much as the entire internet did. Because all I saw yesterday was everybody bashing the idea of this. And I'm like, I get it's not ideal. That being said, like, you're bashing it like it's the worst thing to ever happen in professional wrestling. It's not.
It is. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, it's a cop out for the way they could have done it. You know, they could have easily just had matches where they dropped the titles, or
I mean, they had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, or
they tried.
Or they
if
could have
you
had,
believe some people backstage, apparently Charlotte tried to do said thing.
Or they could have had them relinquish them in the back, and then they come out and have them on a pedestal and okay, take your respective title now. But instead, they just kind of had this, man, I want my title. Man, I want my title. Give me my title. Oh, that's my title you got there, and it made it look really bad for all parties, in even the championships themselves.
Yeah.
What, Parrish? What are you laughing at?
That reminds me of the John Cena thing when he's making fun of the Punk. It's like, man, I want this. Man, I want that. And it just oh my God, that just cracked me up because I just watched it. So that's why. Thank you, Alex, for that. That was funny.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
Wow. What is this? Complimenting each other? Laughing with each other? Oh my
God. I'm sober. Let me be.
In 5 minutes, they'll be done. In 5 minutes, it's over. Don't worry.
No, and to consider,
and
to consider this was the main event last night too, because it was the last thing we saw on air.
Should this really have been the main event, though?
I mean, I'm fine giving the women the main event spot, even if it's just something like this.
It's not about it being about the women; it's about the segment itself.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved a little bit of creative, at least if you're gonna do something like stupid with like a title swap that they did. And like regardless, I think we can universally admit that was the laziest and dumbest creative move that WWE could do. It was stupid when they did it with the tag titles last year. They did it last year. Like you thought maybe like you'd learn, but I don't know. Maybe the creative writing needs to go to concussion protocol once in a while. Just gonna point that one out there. But you had an opportunity to take like somebody new, like maybe like someone that we're not perceived as a main event in the women's scene right now, and made them more of a primal star. And like, how cool would it have been to see like whether it's like Liv Morgan, Selena Vega, or be the ones that are standing tall, beating down these women. No, I know, but like like maybe they come in like somebody beats down like Becky, who's now the Raw champion. Okay. Maybe has somebody on like the SmackDown end who's like, is Carmella still on SmackDown? Or no, she's on Raw because I haven't even learned the roster split.
Whatever.
Sure.
Imagine whatever your process
is Mia Yim on SmackDown?
No.
Who the hell is on SmackDown?
Hold on. Sasha Banks, the one who came out and interrupted the thing, is on SmackDown. Just so
no, I know, but she's already perceived like a main event. My point is just have someone who needs the rub, like a Toni Storm. She's on SmackDown.
Yes.
Yes.
One for one. Well,
what's 1 in 1,000 talk for?
And I feel like
but
trying to bend the perspective on this. We know we've got Survivor Series coming up, so maybe this whole little bit of banter was to kind of plant the seed for that match. Charlotte versus Becky at Survivor Series, but it could have been done in a better way.
Oh, absolutely.
This
And
is
just to
also
answer-
why you don't blow the money in the bank out, because in case you do something stupid like this and you absolutely pin yourself against the wall, you have an out creatively that could save you. Remember when Punk took the title off Edge after I think it was Batista was moved over and Edge was still, or vice versa? Punk brought the title back to Raw. Case in point, WWE, you have this thing called the Network Archives. You may want to go watch some of the stuff you used to do correctly and then just copy and paste it to your current product, please.
And by the way, just to answer Parrish's question about the women's roster on SmackDown, it is Charlotte Flair, B-Fab, Naomi, Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler.
Naomi! There you go!
Xia Li, Aaliyah, Toni Storm, Shotzi Blackheart, Natalya.
To kind of reply to what you said, though, if they went back and just tried to copy and paste, there'll still be somebody out there to say, "Oh, you've done this before," or WCW did it, because they did the whole thing with Chucky on NXT, or was
They're
it
about
Raw?
to do? They're about to
next
do
week.
Chucky on
Yeah,
NXT.
and everybody's just crying wolf and saying, "Oh, WCW did that." So,
I'm gonna just say this: I badly want to see a Cameron Grimes Chucky segment.
Oh, that's what we're getting with Cameron with Chucky out there.
I want to finance the new movie.
No. So Cameron Grimes' new thing is that he's now trying online dating.
Oh God!
Because he wants to find Mrs. Grimes.
The most logic thing is to have him out there with Dexter Lumis. They're both the serial killer murderer gimmick, so why not?
No, he needs to be with Ember. Take it to the moon.
Oh, Jesus. No, I'm talking about Chucky and Dexter.
No.
Chucky and Dexter.
If you want your NXT talk, join Ashton.
Yeah, I apologize. We'll stop talking. That's
No. I'm just saying, if you want more NXT talk, Ashton and I do a whole show with our friend Cody. He won't be there this week. He's on assignment this week.
Maybe I'll make
Cody
a
with
run
a C, right?
Cody
with this. Okay, yeah.
Maybe I'll make a run in this week and rant about NXT a little bit.
We got the boss in there. You ain't doing nothing. The boss is joining us, not Hurt Man.
Watch me.
I'll do it then.
I'll rant about Spencer now.
No run-ins, please.
All right. That being said, does anybody have anything else from SmackDown that they want to talk about? Are we going to bring up Sami Zayn's new music?
Yeah, because there's one thing that we haven't talked about that I'm really shocked. We saw the main debut of Hit Row.
We did.
And yeah, Ed, I'm not forgetting that. It was great. And they were booked fantastic. They looked great. So anybody who thought, they're going to ruin Hit Row on SmackDown can suck it, because they did very well.
That's 1 week. I love Hit Row. I think they're fantastic. Now, we had somebody in the chat that I was in last night while I was watching SmackDown telling me that Hit Row is a very awful acted group. And I'm like, they're the most authentic. Like, this is what they do. Like, when Swerve's not wrestling, he's producing music like he is in all of the segments. Like, this is who he is. That's why he has Top Dollar in his group. That's where they found B-Fab. It's why they're partnered with Ashante, because these are the people that he rolls with backstage before they were on the show.
I'm also going to say this. Remember how many people were making fun of the New Day at the very beginning of when they were just like, we're at church and we're the happy-go-lucky, like positive, and it was stupid. And then they kind of morphed into something else and became one of the most popular acts in pro wrestling. I don't know. Maybe let this one slide and just see what they can become and let them evolve and give them a shot. I don't know. I'm going to speak.
That's crazy, Parrish. Giving things time.
As they say in the figure world, let it breathe.
Take the thing out of the plastic and play with it once in a while. You'll have fun. Yeah, I'm saying it that way.
Anyways, Sami Zayn's new music. Do we think this means that Sami Zayn might have signed a new contract?
Well, I hope to God not. I hope to God not.
Why? Do you not like Sami Zayn?
I want him to go elsewhere and flourish.
Oh yeah, because everyone who leaves WWE is guaranteed to be amazing.
Not everybody, but we know that Sami Zayn.
I mean,
when
that I'm just saying, like that was such a comment that looks of like WWE wrecks everyone, and WWE does a fantastic job with Sami Zayn. They just need to amplify him into the main event picture once in a while.
But imagine him being turned up to 11, and it being so much better than.
No, I think he's better at the age he is now.
And this is why we don't have the two of you on shows normally together. This is great. I love it.
I can't.
We don't get it in the comments. We get it on air.
This is my first time back in Reaction in a while.
This is why they're in opposite corners of the screen. Like I can't get my fingers right, but it's why one of them is down here on my screen and one of them's up
there.
Hold me back, Astrid.
All right. TBS Tournament. Tournament. We're gonna move on. I don't hate AEW, so I'm gonna bring up some AEW stuff. It's honestly been a criticism that I got one point.
Ed is all elite.
AEW.
I want to badly make the graphic.
All Ed wrestling. All Ed wrestling.
Oh god, I don't want to be all elite. Anyways, so last night the TBS tournament brackets were given to us, and we heard that there are 4 first-round buys. Those 4 first-round buys go to Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill, Nyla Rose, and Chris Statlander. Nice, I like it. I am, however, confused as to why some of those got a buy when I look at the people who are in the first-round matches.
I think it's because they're in the top 4. They're 4 out of the top 5 because Tate Conti's the other one.
Okay.
Is it because their record are like really well?
The rankings.
But why make a tournament if you're just going to give buys?
Well, it's because it's a 12-person tournament, and they didn't want to do the tournament the right way, so they don't know how to do counting well.
Not everyone passes math class, I guess. So
apparently, Scott Steiner's running this tournament, and there weren't enough people in the right spots.
Somebody thought 1 + 1 was a window, so.
In our first round, we have Anna Jay versus Jamie Hayter, which will be fine. We have the Bunny versus Red Velvet. We have Serena Deeb versus Hikaru Shida. Actually excited for that one. That one will actually be really good. And then Penelope Ford versus Ruby Soho. Which there's where I get into the problem where I'm like, Anna Jay just competed for the women's championship on Rampage last night. And Ruby Soho competed for the championship not more than 2 or 3 weeks ago. Shouldn't they have gotten buys in this second tournament? Like, just throwing it out there, if they're good enough to compete for the women's title, maybe they get buys.
I can't even get behind the buys at all. Like, just give them what you think is an easy win. I don't know. Just put the worst record against the best. All the major sports does that for their playoffs. I
mean, what is that? What are we talking about? Like having Dustin Rhodes in the World Championship Eliminator tournament?
Nobody said. This is just also the thing. This is maybe why they don't have more viewers on Friday. Yes, but in NFL, when you have a bye, you don't advance to something. You just don't participate.
I'm not even so much hating the buy. I know Parrish hates the buys in general. I don't so much hate the buys. I just think that if you're going to have women who are competing for your top women's championship, when you create a secondary women's championship, if they're good enough to have title matches, maybe they should be getting the buys. Just saying.
Well, if you have 12 and you have 4 women getting buys, I don't know if you did a 4-way out of the least ranked and that one got in. You could knock it down to a solid, 9, and then you could hey, our best ranked one will get a buy, and then it's a little bit more obvious. I don't know, but 4 people.
I'm just surprised that we don't have people like Abaddon. You don't have people like Kiera Hogan. You don't have, you have enough women's talent
and
to be able to. What's that?
Swole, she's not there either.
Yeah, Big Swole, Diamante. Like, there's plenty of women's talent in this division, like, to have another couple matches. Like, you know.
Well, I mean, like, and you also have, like, we can even throw this. This is like an opportunity of where you can even like put like a Patrons on, or if she wanted to make a debut or something like that too. Like, and you can have, yeah, and just like, hey, like maybe the Inner Circle, you know, like you can keep storylines going or something, but at least fill it out to the point where it's a title that you're introducing. The last thing you want someone to be like, oh, how did he win? Well, I started off with a bye, so I got a free pass here, and then I beat like one person, and then all of a sudden I got, you know, like it just doesn't help the title long haul.
And the other thing I want to say about this tournament, then we're going to let Ash, because it's a women's tournament, so we should let Ashford have her piece about this as well. That being said, but one thing I wanted to bring up, I really hope most of this tournament takes place on television. Like, you're naming it the TBS Championship. It's a television. It's legitimately branded after a television company. Please put the tournament matches on your television program. Like, for the love of God, do not put this on AEW Dark and AEW Rampage.
At least looking at the graphic that they posted on Twitter, it does say starts tomorrow, meaning today for Dynamite. So we're getting at least 1 or 2 matches tonight, hopefully. But after that, we'll see what happens.
And I agree with Plug out there. Big Swole should be like the fact that they had Big Swole. Apparently, I've done some reading. Big Swole and Diamante had this great feud on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation, which ended in essentially a 3 stages of hell match. You're telling me you can't find time for that on Dynamite? Like, that seems like a pretty cool match that I honestly seeked out, and it was great, and it was fantastic, because those two are incredibly talented women. You're telling me you can't find time for a match like that on Dynamite?
Or at the very least, stretch out the stuff like another week and just let everything breathe? Like, that's
again, in fairness, Queen's Crown. Like,
we're talking about this, in the ring. Yeah,
we're talking about the TBS tournament and going, you know, they need to do things, but you know, learn from WWE, learn from the mistakes that were made with Queen's Crown, and make this TBS tournament better.
Why can you devote one show to this entire tournament?
You could. Put a special show on TBS.
Yeah, but they didn't do that. They probably put it on YouTube instead.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Probably. All right, but again, we've taken time. Astrid, thoughts on the TBS tournament, and then we'll get to you, Alex. I promise.
Yeah, I wish it would have included like everybody in the part of the roster. Like you said, you know, there's Abaddon, and we have, you know, how do you have not Swole in there, who people love so much? And Diamante is officially signed. She hasn't done much. And I don't know if Kira is signed or not, because I see like rumors that she is, but I know she's one of those people. She didn't get a graphic, so I'm not entirely sure she's signed. But where's Layla, for example? That's another one that she's not there. The only one that I can excuse is Tay not being there because she's going against Britt, which makes sense. But everybody else, I'm like, everybody should have been there. Everybody that is in the show should already been there as part of that tournament. So.
And in our own way, Puggo, we're trying to love it by telling them to be better than what we think might happen. You know, we want them to be better. We want them to do well. Because the more great wrestling that goes on, the more great things that other wrestling companies will do.
We're also giving them ideas of how to be better. We're not disliking anything.
Yeah. And speaking of things that, you know, could be done better and potentially a bad decision, WWE has apparently decided that they're going to rerun SmackDown from last night. So for any of you who missed it last night and didn't catch us talking about it for 20 minutes beforehand, you can watch you can watch SmackDown tonight, apparently 8 to 10 in rival competition. This is where competition can get bad. When you do something silly like putting on a rerun of SmackDown on against AEW Dynamite. This is petty. This is bad. I don't like this.
I mean, at least if it was a good episode of SmackDown, I'll get it. But after we got last night, do I really want to rewatch it?
Yes, I want to badly rewatch the title swap that was the main event of SmackDown.
Because that was so interesting.
Whoa.
Alex, do you have any thoughts that we haven't covered yet on the?
Well, first, let me just say, I thought when you started saying Speaking of things that could have been done better, I thought you were going to throw it to me. But my question is, and maybe I'm just kind of not seeing it, but where is Ty Conti at during this tournament?
She's going
She's
to
going
be
against Britt.
Oh,
Britt
she
Baker.
is wrestling. Okay,
She's the number one contender for Britt Baker.
That's a talent I think definitely needs a little bit more spotlight because she's done a lot of improvement since leaving WWE and NXT. I saw some like TikToks or something like that with her backstage, and I'm kind of like, okay, who the hell is this? But since she made this move, I know now how to pronounce her name. It's Ty Conti, So I think that I'm glad that she's going to be in the match with Britt Baker. And refer to what Astrid said. Like, this is a moment for you to shine and have a lot of your top women's talent be in this tournament. So give them a little bit more of a shine. I'm kind of in the same boat as another Love Wrestling alum, Josh, who give us a little bit more. Give us more of these women's wrestling on your main shows. There's a lot of them, signed and unsigned, that they could have, but they're just not putting them on there. Maybe 3 or 4 segments per a 2-hour show, or even at least one every Rampage. And that's just my. Go ahead.
No, it's just you just the kind of spawned a thing on me. Like, with all this stuff that we have, like, is the floodgate or the window between Impact and AEW closed?
Yes, no. Like,
I
Christian
wouldn't
Cage
think
is
so.
still their world champion currently, so no.
Because if it's no, why not bring a couple of the women along in this tournament to make it a little bit more?
Yeah,
because apparently Diana and Brie are both campaigning on their ends to, start that part of the forbidden door between the ladies, because it hasn't happened yet.
If we get that match, my God, I will pay money to watch that match.
Oh yeah.
Imagine if Diana came in as a mystery entrant for this TBS title, won it, and gave it instant notoriety because it's a name already, and then your two champions could be the ones that want to work together. I mean, that could be a very enticing storyline moving forward for the female in AEW.
And Parrish just gave us a great little,
segue.
I was thinking of the word and I couldn't think of it. It ruined the segue into talking about Bound for Glory 2021. Because believe it or not, this is actually a really good card. So
what is it, Ed?
Tonight. All right, we'll just.
Special start time at 10 p.m.
Oh.
Hey, you don't say like, "Oh, that's a great show." Pause, and then not tell us what it is.
It's going to be a great pay-per-view. All right, next subject.
No. So we got on the pre-show. We're going to have the tournament finals for the intergender inaugural Impact Digital Media Championship. That is a mouthful to say, but it's interesting. It's going to be John Skyler versus Crazy Steve versus Falaba versus Jordan Grace versus Chelsea Green versus Madison Rain. I'm interested to see this. I want to see Jordan Grace power slam Falaba. I'll be honest. That's all I want to see in this match. Is I want to see Falaba power slammed by Jordan Grace.
I think I'm a little biased on this one. I think I want to see Chelsea Green win this. She's had a very good outing lately, and ever since leaving the WWE. So I think I'd like to see her. I mean, like I said, I'm a little bit biased because I'm a Cardona fan. So,
I mean, I see that point. I would love to see Chelsea Green win it. If it's a social media, like a digital media, like it, I think it needs to be somebody like a Jordan Grace who's all over Twitter. It needs to be a Chelsea Green who's all over Twitter. No offense to Falaba and Crazy Steve, but I don't think a whole lot of people follow them on Twitter. Astrid,
what do you think, Astrid?
No, thinking back, like having 3 ladies between this, like that's impressive as it is. So I'm like, I want to see that. Plus, obviously, the Inspiration debuting. I want to see that too.
We'll get to that.
Don't invoke his name. Don't invoke his name.
Oh, somebody's about to enter. No, I'm just kidding.
So the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match The winner receives a trophy and a contract that they can invoke anytime within 1 year for a championship match of their choosing. Essentially, it's a trophy and a contract that represent the Money in the Bank. Mm-hmm. But instead of being a ladder match, it's a gauntlet match.
Trophy in the bank. There we go.
Yeah. But see, this is where Impact gets themselves in trouble. And this is where I'm like, So they've announced some of the competitors for this thing. And you would think, okay, they're going to save a couple of spots for people who, they're going to save as surprises. So they announced people as of today on Wikipedia, because any editable, program is obviously the best source of knowledge. We have Rich Swann versus Brian Myers versus Moose versus William Morrissey, who's formerly known as Big Cass, versus Chris Sabin versus 15 to be announced talents. Guess what? I'm going to guess most of those 15 talents aren't going to win this match.
Is one of them possibly Adam Scherr?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised if we see Buddy Matthews pop up here in this match. Like I said, there's a chance that one of the TBAs wins this, but I guarantee 12 of the 15 TBAs have no shot now.
I think it's going to be TBA number 13. I'm calling it my
unknown person
right now.
Unknown person number 3.
Yep. Astrid, your social media supervisor has arrived.
He's
late.
He's reminding you to do a TikTok right now.
So does anybody have an actual prediction for this match? Who do we think is going to win?
If we're going with the people that are just announced,
I mean, there's 15 to be announced. You can basically pick anybody.
No, but if I'm picking somebody that's already just announced, like if one of those are gonna win, I would like to see it be a Sabin, not one of the big giants, because I think Sabin hasn't really done that much lately that are really like big. So I think this would be really cool for him. Plus, TNA tends to do stuff for the originals, and this just seems like it's like one of those things that, hey, Sabin hasn't really been a champion for a while. The last, I think, title that he was with was the tag titles, if I'm not mistaken, right? Mm-hmm. So it'd be kind of nice to kind of give him this thing. However, I do think it would be smart if they were to land like a big fish, whether it is the artist formerly known as Braun Strowman, Adam Scherr, or if it is Buddy Matthews, formerly known as Buddy Murphy. Like, it'd be kind of nice to kind of get them right off the ground with something. Yes, but that doesn't mean that he's not confirmed for Impact.
I think he's just excited that Buddy Matthews is going to be doing New Japan stuff.
Yes.
As he should.
But, like, there's also room for other people. Like, what about is Heath potentially a name that could be in this? That'd be a great way to kind of just, like, put a rocket on him for a bit, too. So, I mean, if you're going to do somebody big like that, I would be all in. But if it's one of the people that are already announced, I'd like to see it, somebody like Sabin, just because I think with Moose, with Morrissey, we're going to be kind of underselling the smaller guys. And I think the smaller guy would actually benefit more than a larger guy in this match.
Alex.
The Zodiac.
The Zodiac. All right, cool.
That's my pick.
All right. The Zodiac is coming out of retirement?
Yes. He's not... Huh?
I was going to say who?
The Zodiac from the famed Dungeon of Doom in WCW.
Oh, yes. No, I'm just saying, who is also one of the to be announced?
Oh, yeah. He's number 3, I think.
Oh, and it looks like we have a raid. Let me see where it's coming from. Oh, Speedball Mike Bailey, our friend. Thank you very much for the raid, Speedball. We appreciate it. Congratulations on your 2 championships now, I believe it is. We got a whole bunch of people that I'm going to pop up on here on screen briefly. Thank you all for joining us. We're just talking about the Bound for Glory card for Impact for tonight's show. And it's now Astrid's turn. So, Astrid, what are your thoughts on the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match?
I mean, how many people are going to have in here? It's too many. But if I say somebody like Buddy Matthews, that'd be like cool to see him win, even though it's not part of the roster. Or maybe Heath Slater if he's part of it. But yeah, just like the only thing I like is like it's gonna feel like kind of like a Royal Rumble with like you never know who's gonna show up sort of situation, which I like. But aside from that, I'm like I really don't mind who wins on this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in for a surprise person winning this. But if we're gonna do somebody who's there, I'd like to see a Brian Myers get the win here. I think Brian Myers would be cool, especially considering we have option C being cashed in later in the night, and we're going to have a new X Division champion crowned here anyways as well. I would love to see a guy like Brian Myers. I think he could do really good stuff with that X Division title, and it's something that's realistic. Like him in the him going up against. I mean, hell, if we get a Josh Alexander championship win, him versus Josh Alexander for the world title could be very fun. So give me Brian Myers. I know people are gonna be shocked on that pick, but I
like that pick. I'm not gonna lie.
I know you do.
A surprising name that we didn't talk about, and I kind of a guy that like since he's lost the championship, he hasn't really done a lot lately, and that is Rich Swann. So I think that's somebody to also kind of keep your eye out on because I know Impact doesn't like to kind of make you forget guys. They do like to keep guys relevant, even though they just lost a championship. So I think Rich Swann could very well be one of, I don't want to say a dark horse, but a guy that maybe not a lot of people, he's not the tip of the tongue guy that will say, but I do think that he might be one of those guys that I wouldn't be shocked and I wouldn't be upset if he was to win either. Kind of nice that Cody and I were thinking the same thing right there too.
Whatever happened to Jay White doing stuff with Impact?
Well, we're going to get to that because we got some stuff coming up. I know. Just let me finish.
Okay.
Stop interrupting, Alexander.
I'm so sorry.
So since Alex led us there, we're going to skip down the card a little bit, and we're going to go to the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, defending their tag team championships in a three-way dance against Finn Juice and the Bullet Club, which is made up of Chris Bay and Hikuleo, which Chris Bay was brought into the Bullet Club by Jay White as part of his involvement with Impact Wrestling before he went back over to do some more stuff with NJPW Strong. So always fun to see them. So what do we think? Alex, we'll start with you since you brought up the
oh no, I'm on the
switch
spot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really seen like I said, I love watching wrestling, but I don't get to watch a lot of it. So it's kind of hard to tell, from just a hearing who's in the match standpoint to really give a prediction. But I would love to see the Good Brothers keep him, especially since they've been a little bit of everywhere lately. But we could see him put him on Finn Juice. That wouldn't be too bad.
There we go. The natural Astrid Pizarro. What do we think here?
I was going to say anybody but the Good Brothers.
Oh well.
The social media supervisor's going to be upset.
This is a business meeting I don't want to be a part of.
Harris, what about you?
I have a feeling that you're going to see it come down to either the Good Brothers or the Bullet Club. If they really want to surprise us, I would have Good Brothers and the Bullet Club be so in each other's face all through this match where you see a surprise Finn Juice just okay, and they roll up, say like a Carl Anderson or somebody, and they get that shock win. I think the feel-good, happy one is Finn Juice, but I think if you really want to keep the storyline going, I think Bullet Club might actually be the best spot here because the Good Brothers are already there. They already have the AEW alignment. This could be something that you start really making more of a mainstream angle here. So the championships really give them kind of that shot. It just gives them a little bit more ammo, we'll say. So I'm going to pick Bullet Club might be the right thing here, but I think Finn Juice, they might be the Xavier Wood crown win. They might be the feel-good story if they were to get the titles. But yeah, I think Good Brothers, regardless, I don't think they need the titles to be important. I think they got the guilty by association right now to be in the top picture regardless. So yeah, give me Bullet Club.
And I was going to take Bullet Club as well. I think Chris Bay is probably one of the most talented wrestlers in the United States right now. The dude is absolutely phenomenal and could very well have a great, little run here. We got our friend Cody giving us a little bit of information. Finn Juice and Hikuleo have been feuding for a couple of months. So Bullet Club managed to capitalize on the two winnings. Yeah, and exactly. But this is why Impact is so great, is they're bringing in stars from New Japan and incorporating them into other things to make it a little bit more interesting for things to happen. Speaking of tag team matches, we're going to go ahead to a regular tag match. and it is going to be Heath and, Impact loves it, to be announced. Heath and a mystery partner will be taking on Violent by Design, which is made up of Eric Young, Diener, and Joe Doran. 2 of the 3 will be in this match. I do know a little bit about Impact, a very little bit. I've watched here and there.
Mm-hmm.
My theory is that Heath Slater is going to get his tag team partner back because he's not listed in that Violent by Design name. I think it's going to be Heath Slater and Rhino taking the win.
Wasn't Rhino part of Violent by Design for a little bit, and then they kicked him out?
That's what I'm thinking, because he's not listed here. So obviously he's not one of the ones that can obviously be there. So the obvious choice, as Cody says, the obvious choice should be announced is Rhino, especially considering Rhino's the one who brought Heath in, and Rhino won the Call Your Gauntlet last time that I saw it done. It was supposed to go to Heath. Heath was supposed to win that to earn his contract, but they managed to make it that Rhino could win it too for him, and then he used that to get Violent by Design the World Tag Team Championships. So, but yes.
I think this is a perfect spot to bring in Adam Scherr. I really think this is the perfect spot to do that. I'm only bringing up his name and the other things because it's pretty much, from what I understand, a done deal between the Braun Strowman, formerly known, and I'm sure to be in TNA or Impact. But I think if you really want a bigger surprise than Rhino, is there one better than the old Braun Strowman here?
Actually, I do have one that could be better. How about a debuting Bray Wyatt and have a little bit of a Nexus core reunion?
You mean New Nexus?
New Nexus, Nexus core, New Nexus.
Bray Wyatt wasn't in the core.
I'm saying that they both were in the Nexus, though.
Yeah,
Yes,
I don't think he's free yet, though. I think Halloween Day is actually his freedom day.
I didn't think that he really had a.
He does. He has an idea.
Oh, he does. Okay, well.
Unfortunately,
it's still fine. You can still guess. I don't think Impact cares. You probably wouldn't even notice if he showed up in Impact and wrestled.
But yeah, I think,
I don't think anybody would care if Bray Wyatt were to show up somewhere else. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. No, I don't think WWE would care. The fans would care. WWE might not care.
But I'm also gonna dovetail on this one. What happens if he brings in maybe the Adam Scherr and maybe the Eric Rowan, and then maybe that could lead to a Bray Wyatt coming in. But at the end of the day, like, I just think if it's not Rhino, which I think it will be, like, I think that's the most obvious. I think that's the feel good story too. And TNA likes to do their feel good moments, so it's probably Rhino. But with that being said, like, man, if they want to make an impact, I mean, maybe putting the seeds in the Wyatt family reunion could be something to make everyone talk about a little bit.
I do like Rowan being a part of the Call Your Shot match. That'd be an interesting entrance.
So moving on, we're going to tempt fate with our Beetlejuice here. We have Decay, made up of Jessica Havoc and Rosemary, taking on Cassie Lee and Jessica McKay, The Inspiration.
Oh,
not the same.
I don't know if I can do that anymore.
I'm still going to do it because it's fun.
Inspiration, yeah.
Is there any chance that the Inspiration doesn't win the titles tonight?
No, I think they would be one of the better tag teams to put them on if they were going to have Havoc and Rosemary lose them. I think they were one of the best women's tag teams that they had. Not a chance. Okay, yeah, whatever. I think they were one of the better.
No, he's agreeing with you that there's not a chance they lose.
Yeah. So
we're on your side, Alex. Relax. It's okay.
No, nobody's on my side, man. But
I don't think
when it comes to women's wrestling, I'm going to defer to, of course, Astrid, because who better than Astrid?
Canyon.
Who better than to talk about women's wrestling and love wrestling than Astrid?
I mean, it's a natural selection.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yeah. No, the inspiration between, I'm like, they already have a new music video, new theme song, new everything. So I'm curious to how that will be portrayed on TV. But I'm like, they have to win this match. I'm like, there's no other way you can bring them in and not have them win like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just gonna say, can McKay get the pin this time? She never really seems to get the pin. Can she get the pin this time if they're to win?
I brought him up earlier, but Josh Alexander is using option C. It's the first time in a while that they've used this option, and I love this option. It's the only one good thing that Austin Aries has ever done in the world of professional wrestling, in my opinion. We're not going to get into any fights here, but it's the one good thing that I can think about with Austin Aries is he created option C. But we have a triple threat for the Impact X Division Championship between Trey Miguel, Steve Macklin, and El Phantasmo. And we'll start with Astrid.
I mean, for me, my first pick is Trey. My second one will be Steve, if we go like in that order. So I would like Trey to win this one, though.
All right, Parrish.
It's hard for me not to go with a former another Canadian in El Phantasmo. I've done a couple shows with him back in like the early part of my career. Very happy to see him do well. However, Trey Miguel kind of is kind of like one of those golden childs of Impact. I actually don't think he's going to win this because I do think you're going to look at who Josh Alexander is going to fight after Christian for this championship when he wins. Spoiler. That's my prediction, by the way. But I don't know. Give it El Phantasmo, I think, would just be a fresh look in the X Division scene. So, yeah, he's my pick.
Alex.
I'm gonna go with Trey Miguel here. He's been on a roll, and I don't think he's had really much of a good run since the Radicals departed. So I would love to see him shine a bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just wrong. He's held a title at some point. Okay, thank you. But I'd love to see him stand out. He did this whole thing with Sammy, elevating him a little bit more. So let's see it.
Yeah, and I agree with all you guys, but I'm gonna go on the wild side. I think Steve Macklin gets this. I think Steve Macklin's a great little it's a great X Division championship. He got kind of a raw deal at the end with WWE and how all that kind of played out. I really think he got caught up in a bad situation there, and then guilty by association, as we said earlier. So I would say I'd love Steve Macklin to get that title. We got our friend Cody popping in saying he'd like LP to win, but potentially heading back for the best of the Super Juniors. Trey Miguel has plenty of time to chase the title after this match. So he agrees with me that potentially Steve Macklin.
I was just going to say, too, Macklin poses a different perception of the X Division, too. Like, because he's not your, typical, like, luchador or, like, the high flying kind of star that we kind of associate the X Division with. He is kind of like, like more of a Samoa Joe type X Division champion, things like that, which is kind of a nice little look and caveat to that championship. So I wouldn't be against it. Plus, we were talking about what he did with WWE and how that was a sour thing. Would it be kind of nice to see the other Forgotten Son, maybe in Impact, to join Steve Macklin?
I would love it. I think the Forgotten Sons had a lot of promise and momentum going their way until everything happened at the beginning of the pandemic, and they unfortunately got caught up in a bad situation. Moving on to what's most likely going to be the main event of the show, but it's going to be the second to last match that we talk about, because I'm going to save one match because I really want to talk about that match more than anything. Thank you, Cody. Somebody had to say it. So we have Christian Cage versus Josh Alexander. Two wonderful Canadians.
I love the delayed reaction from Alex. That was the best.
It took a second.
Oh, great.
We have Josh Alexander versus Christian Cage, as mentioned before, option C. Impact would really have to have been smoking a lot to not have Josh Alexander win this championship, right?
I mean, option C tonight stands for option Canada, by the way, because Canada's absolutely taken over Impact when it comes to the World Championship. I can't wait. I think this is something I mean, like we all want to see Adam Page one day become the AEW World Champion. Like I think a lot of people wanted to see Xavier Woods become King of the Ring. I think a lot of people want to see Josh Alexander win the Impact World Championship. And I think tonight's the night. Like, I don't think you can't. And if you're smoking anything, then chances are you're smoking the stuff that one El Phantasmo from his native British Columbia can get, because those guys, yep, they got the good stuff apparently in Canada.
Alex, we'll let you go now.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a time for Josh Alexander to step out into the light. You know, he's been hot, and I've seen him almost everywhere that I've looked, you know, on flyers and for shows and whatnot. So I think this is definitely going to be his, not necessarily coming out party as a singles wrestler, but, you know, his chance to shine as a heavyweight champion.
Astrid?
Yeah, Mike, what, you know, you have him do so much and getting that push. I'm like, you have to end it with a good note. And I think this is a good note that we're going to see all over Twitter later on tonight when he wins, because we know that's going to happen. And especially going against somebody like Christian, who's still like doing so well at his age. I just like, this is one of those matches that I'm really looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a fantastic match. Christian is one of the best that's ever done it. I'm excited to see him go into the Hall of Fame at some point in the near future, because I think people who think that Vince is going to keep AEW bound people out of the Hall of Fame definitely haven't been paying attention, and I think that that's going to be something that's going to quickly change as we see people like Chris Jericho, and eventually people like Christian and Matt Hardy and people like that eventually end up in the Hall of Fame for WWE. That being said, we're going to end with two former WWE talents, and in my favorite match of the night, we got Deonna Purrazzo versus Mickie James, and what will be wonderful for the Impact Knockouts Championship, with formerly known as Aiden English, Matthew Raywald will be banned from ringside. Astrid, it's been your week. This is a women's match. You hosted our Impact Knockouts Knockdown with Ella J and them. What do you think?
I'm like, this is a tough one for me to even pick a winner, but I'm like, I feel like no matter who wins, the winners are the fans, because this match is going to be incredible and it's going to be so talked about tonight. And I'm so hoping, I know that with Christian and Josh is kind of weird in there, the part, but I'm hoping it's the main event, because it's been so talked about. And it's like that ending to everything that's been going on lately between Deonna and Mickie. But I can't pick a winner, to be honest.
Alex?
I can't say anything. Like I said, unfortunately, I don't get to watch too much of wrestling on air, so I haven't really seen any of the build for this. But just looking at the talent alone, they're both very outstanding women, so they're going to produce one hell of a match.
Barish.
Yeah, I look at Deonna Purrazzo's reign right now very similar to Roman Reigns' Universal title reign. I think it's one of those where you just can't touch the end of it right now, because there's too much momentum and too much of a role that the title holder is on. I think Deonna right now is signaling that change that Mickie James wants for women's pro wrestling right now. I think she's probably the face of it. I can't see Mickie James wanting to come in and almost kind of putting a bumper on that at all. So, like, I think this is one of those times where she comes in simply just to help elevate Deonna, so her idea and vision of what they can do with pro wrestling on the women's end can be elevated as well. The one thing I think would be absolutely awesome to see is if the inspiration at the beginning of the card were to win the tag team titles, and maybe you have a match where Deonna maybe taps out Mickie James for this, and there's like that glimpse of mutual respect between the two. But then you have the inspiration coming down and beating both Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo down and standing tall. I think that'd be a very nice signal to how there is a change in women's wrestling, and how even though Deonna Purrazzo could be the face of it, she might not be the backbone, but also it's just one of those interesting visuals that could be that women's wrestling are taking things to the next level. And I think the 4 of those individuals could be huge benefactors to that.
We want to thank Hab Guy for the follow. We greatly appreciate it. You can see all the wonderful Love Wrestling content, including blowing off stream tonight at 10 p.m., hosted by our own, potentially, Alex.
Potentially. I am.
Well, I don't know. You are definitely Alex, but potentially hosting.
Yeah, I will be here, live. So
I just want to make sure we're confirmed for that.
Alex, the BOS confirmed. There you go.
All right. I think Deonna wins this. I love Mickie James to death. I think it would be fantastic for her to have another reign as Impact Knockouts champion. I think she's bound for that Hall of Fame soon as well, for that actual bound. She's bound for the Impact Hall of Fame at some point in the near future. So I think it would be nice to see her get another reign, but I don't think it happens here. I don't think it happens now. I think we're pushing to either Tasha Steelz or Mercedes Martinez versus Deonna Purrazzo. I wouldn't be surprised if Tasha Steelz is the one who takes that title off of Deonna Purrazzo. I think that feud seems like that might be a nice little ending point for that feud, especially with Savannah there to back up Tasha in that feud. That being said, this match is going to be fantastic. I really do hope it main evented my portion of it because I want to see this match main event the entire card. While I know the World Championship should always go on last, I think that you can decide that the Impact Women's Championship is your Women's World Championship and main event with it. So in my mind, that's the match that should definitely main event that card.
I think that you just indicated too the strength of this card too. If people are sleeping on Impact right now, just understand that there are 2 championship matches that are worthy of a main event, and that is the men's, that is the women's. That's just another signal of how strong this Impact roster is right now and just how great this show has. So if you have a chance to check it out, please do so, because Impact Wrestling does not get enough credit and does not get enough people talking about it. We're always talking and bantering about AEW versus WWE and forgetting about Impact. Impact has been doing some of the best work in pro wrestling in the last few years, so don't sleep on that.
And for anybody wondering, Impact's only got 100,000 eyes on it a week. Don't forget that you can see Impact on their YouTube channel live, and I think it only costs like $1 to be able to watch the show live on their YouTube channel. So, I mean, if you want to seek out Impact, there are nice, affordable ways to do that, where you can watch wonderful wrestling product every week. And they put their all into it with a lot of great young stars who haven't quite made that jump to the next level in some ways. And it's also been a nice landing spot for those who have and want to rebuild themselves in their own image. I'm talking about a guy like EC3, who came back to Impact after, everything that happened with WWE. He went back to Impact and found himself, found the EC3, found the narrative, and has been doing a fantastic job telling people stories and giving himself a way to make others feel like a star. And Impact is that way to do that. And like how Guy says right here, Impact, going off what Parrish says, has been so good for the last few years. They really have. They deserve more credit than they get in this space. And hopefully this show will be another example of them saying, don't forget about us. We're here too. We're fantastic. Does anybody have any other thoughts on any other wrestling product from the week that was?
Yeah, I was only going to point out, I believe Impact Plus is only like $8, and you get the pay-per-view, and you get to watch probably the Impact during the week as well. So if you miss Knockouts Knockdown, for example, you can just pay the $8 and go watch it again. So.
Yeah, Cody brings up a great point. Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, big, huge stars on WWE. They got remade by Impact and made Impact before WWE gave them the chance to be the stars that they are. That's absolutely true. Drew McIntyre was Drew Galloway at the time.
I question the word made. I don't think they were made, but I definitely think that they were revitalized.
Yeah,
revitalized by Impact.
They were made the stars that they are now. They were made who they are now with the help and by Impact.
Yeah, they got a resurgence by Impact, and that's, I think, it shows how important Impact and what they do. I think Impact is some of the most underappreciated work with some of the guys that WWE sends to let go. But Cody's bang on when he talks about how amazing Impact is with some of these guys.
Yeah, and Hab Guy, reiterating what Parrish says. I can't put the comment up, but
Rejuvenated.
It revitalized. Yeah, it rejuvenated their careers and their characters. One thing I wanted to touch on, it was a brief thing, but we saw Shibata back in the wrestling ring this week. I know a lot of us probably haven't had a chance to watch it, but that being said, seeing Shibata back in the wrestling ring is just a fantastic thing. After everything he's been through and what happened with him, to have the ability to be back in the ring for one more. I said it because I knew he's here and he'd do this. Shibata. Like, Kenzie Shibata is one of my favorite New Japan wrestlers, and he's been out for a long time. He's had some issues after a headbutt that gave him a lot of issues. I believe he had a brain aneurysm. All kinds of bad stuff that happened with him. He had to basically retire early. It was so great to see him in a 5-minute match. He's had a great, comfortable match. It was so great to see him do it one more time. If anybody hasn't checked out the G1, we have our review shows that have covered the whole G1. Go back and watch some of them. Go ahead and there's a couple of free shows from the G1 on New Japan World that you can catch an entire night of the G1 for free. So go ahead and watch some of those because the G1 is my favorite tournament in all of wrestling. It is absolutely fantastic, and it's always something different, and there's always interesting stories coming out of it. And Cody says she got Shibata versus Zack Sabre Jr., that 5-minute showcase match. Absolutely fantastic.
Can I just say that there's been a lot of tournaments around lately, and it's kind of wearing me out on tournaments.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody plans their tournaments around the G1 because the G1 is the greatest wrestling tournament in all of wrestling. You have your 16-karat gold, the next WXW. You have, the World Tag League and the best of the Super Juniors and the G1. You have the King of the Ring. But, I mean...
It's kind of like somebody I was talking to on the Twitter was, I'm not going to be working any shows that have Deck the Halls or Christmas Countdown or anything like that in the name of the show. And I'm like, well, there goes your December. You're free up in December.
That being said, we're gonna start to get on out of here. Oh, I did forget about one. Cody is right. The 5-star Grand Prix in Stardom is absolutely fantastic. I know Cody, as we've talked about on our NXT shows every now and then, has been getting into Stardom and absolutely enjoys it. I can't wait to check out some Stardom at some point soon. That being said, we're going to start to get on out of here so we can all get on with our Saturdays and get ready for blowing off stream tonight. I know Parrish has some other things going on, so we're going to start with him. Parrish, what do you got going on today?
Well, I am participating in the Real Canadian Wrestling's tournament for a new championship.
Jesus.
It's the Fall Brawl tournament where I'll be facing Dean Richter, which is the third time in the last little bit as the tag team I'm involved in and the tag team he's involved in. Or let's just say not seeing eye to eye right now. So if you're in the Edmonton area and you want to check out some indie pro wrestling, come check out the Real Canadian Wrestling at the Norwood Legion. And you can always pick up your tickets, whether it's at the venue or on eventbrite.ca.
All right. Alex, big screen for our big star Alex.
Big star Alex. You can find me at EctoGuy87 on Twitch and on Twitter, and you can find me later tonight on Blowing Off Stream at 10 p.m., 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And I have an episode of Love Wrestling Figures up today, surprisingly, as we take a look at WWE Elite 85, a little bit of a little expose on him on YouTube. Check out the YouTube and all the great content on there. And then probably going to be on brunch tomorrow because kind of like I said, the Weekend Warrior. So there you go.
And we're just going to have it. Parrish for RCW North American Champion. We're going to leave it on Alex's reaction to that, though.
No more titles for Parrish.
That's because Alex is not like a bra. He's not supportive at all.
Really? Wow. Anyway,
that was an interesting segue, Astrid.
Well, to end my busy week, I was on the J&J Power Hour podcast, so check that out. I was on Between Two Beers. You can maybe check that out too. No, but the YouTube channel, there's also my Astrid Asks, my first episode, so if you want to check that out. And you probably find Knockouts Knockdown if you want to watch it back. If you watch it later, it's there as well. When I'm out here on Tuesdays for NXT with Ed and Cody, I'll be on my Twitter within wrestling, which is going to happen tonight. So There you go. A lot of wrestling going on tonight to support.
And of course, you can find me. I will be here on Saturday Reacts most of the time. I will potentially be making an appearance on Blowing Off Stream tonight. We shall see how the cookie crumbles. That being said, you can always find me at NXT. Following this week, we are not following Power Out, as there is no Power Out this week, as we've decided to have Halloween Havoc special. So we're going to be airing at 10 p.m. on Tuesday, where it'll be me, Astrid, and supposedly the boss, Spencer Love, talk about the potential of Braun Breaker potentially being the new NXT World Champion. So we'll see what happens there. You can find me at EdFries12584 on Twitter. Find me here. You can find me everywhere. That being said, I think our little fun has come to an end. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being in the chat. Big special thanks to Speedball Mike Bailey for his raid. Greatly appreciated. And all good things to you. Hopefully we can, if you can, go out and seek out Mike Bailey on Twitter and on his Twitch so we can go ahead and support him and all his wrestling shows. And with that, enjoy your day. Enjoy your Saturday. Love wrestling. Oh, that's not the right button.
Awkward.
Yeah, I tried to leave the studio. Hold on.